My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to break down the entire UFC Vegas 71 fight card, giving you my picks, my predictions, and my bets. But before we talk about UFC Vegas 71, let's talk about last night, UFC 285, and we crushed. We did really, really well. The premium member safety parlay, that did miss. Valentina Shevchenko blew that up for us. The 4 legs, 3 of those legs absolutely won in dominant fashion. Then Valentina Shevchenko spun around in a circle, got her back taken, and was submitted. But even losing 3 units on the safety parlay, we are up 13 units of net profit. Jacob was up 15 units. I was up almost a unit. You minus 3 for the safety parlay, and it's 13 net. We crushed some bets. Every single bet we put on the board is right here on the right-hand side. Greens are obviously the wins, and a couple of the highlights here is Jacob had a plus 727 parlay. Jacob also had a plus 600 Tabitha Ricci wins by submission. I hit Gamrot. I crushed 2 different bets on Tabitha Ricci, and then betting on under 2 takedowns for Bo Nickel was wildly successful. So overall, an absolutely phenomenal night outside of that freaking safety parlay because of Valentina Shevchenko. Become a premium member now. It's only $10 a month. I just gave you 13 units of net profit. I just gave you more than 1 full year of net profit if you only bet $10. If you bet $10, if a unit for you is $10, I gave you over a year of premium membership. And now we've added things like metrics and analytics. We have a 38-column spreadsheet with conditional formatting that has all the stats you need for grappling, all the stats you need for striking, all the data for how they're winning their fights and what the odds are to win like that again. All of that is right there in one single spreadsheet that you can work your way through to make decisions and find spots. That is included in your $10. We then take that data, chop it up into individual, digestible, interactive charts, and those are on the website. So you can work your way through, sort by fighter, sort by score, sort by striking differential, and work your way through to make decisions. So you don't need to look at some giant glob of color. We break it up. You can interact with it. You can sort. You can work with that data. And we also have the line movement tracker. Guys, all of this plus fantasy. By the way, we had the best DraftKings ownership again. 3 weeks in a row, the best DraftKings ownership numbers in the world. In the entire world. WeWantPicks.com. It is only $10 a month. What are you doing? And if you want $50, I'll send you $50. Just go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our betting partners, and I will send you $50 as a thank you. They're going to pay us. If you go to WeWantPicks.com/bets and you click the link, you make a new account, you make a deposit, they're going to pay me. Then I'm going to take a piece of that and I'm going to give it back to you because we are all in this together. We're building a community. We're all here to make money. We're all here to watch our favorite sport and do well doing it. So if I'm going to make some money, you're going to make some money too. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. I'll send you $50 as a thank you. This is an interesting fight card. There's a couple of really solid bangers on this card. Last night at UFC 285, only one single underdog out of 14 fights. One underdog won. Only one. And it was the second biggest underdog on the entire card. This card feels very, very different. I'm loving a bunch of underdogs on this card. So we'll see how that goes. And opening up UFC Vegas 71, we have Sedriques Dumas taking on Josh Fremd. Sedriques Dumas is a street fighter who has worked his way into the UFC, similar to what George Masvidal did in his path. And like most street fighters, he's got solid hands, solid power, and he has a willingness to engage. But unlike what you would think the stereotype is for a street fighter, Sedriques is very well-rounded. He has solid takedown, solid kickboxing. He uses techniques really, really well. He's very powerful. And while breaking down tape, you'll see him slam more than one opponent. He's got nice kickboxing. He uses legs and his kicks really well to take away your balance. He's fun, athletic, and will definitely be somebody to watch the rest of this year because I imagine they're going to get him a bunch of fights, and I think they see him as a next really popular guy. Josh Fremd is a grappler. Solid athletic guy. He's got some sneaky power in his punches as well. When he can initiate the grappling exchanges, he does well. He's got cardio, athleticism. He is well-rounded, but he has no real base in MMA, meaning he wasn't a wrestler, he wasn't a boxer, he's just an athletic guy who took up MMA and is improving very, very quickly. He's coming off 2 losses in the UFC, both of which were wrestle heavy. In his last fight against Trayson Gore, he poured it on. He could have won that fight, but he took a shot with his head on the outside and then he got choked. Josh Fremd is 0-2 in the UFC. He's 0-3 against UFC talent guys, but I don't think he's a busted prospect just yet. He's dangerous. He could absolutely win fights at this level. I just don't think this is going to be one of them. I like Sedriques. I think he could be something special. And just when you think you have his striking figured out, he's going to shoot a double. And just when you think you're in a wrestling match, he's blasting you with low leg kicks. He does a great job mixing it all together. And he's very composed for a 27-year-old with only 7 fights. I like him in this spot. I might be regretting betting on a UFC debut with his street fighting past. But I got a moneyline bet on Sedriques Dumas at -130. I think there's something here, and I think the UFC is giving him Josh Fremd because they think he's going to get it done, and they want to push him because Sedriques is so fun to watch. Then we have a Raphael Assuncao, and he's taking on Davey Grant. Raphael Assuncao is a tried and true vet. He's been in this fight game for 20+ years. He started as a dominant grappler, and after 20 years of MMA training, he's pretty good everywhere. He averages a little more than 1 takedown per fight, and he has 10 submission wins, but he doesn't always need to grapple to win. He has a solid 3-2 striking differential, and we've seen him beat people like Rob Font and more recently, Victor Henry with both striking and grappling. He's coming off a bounce back win over Victor Henry that I just mentioned, and that snapped a 4-fight skid. And he's fighting Davey Grant. Davey Grant, as of late, has been a busy striker who utilizes kicks for range and punches for damage with some real power. A lot of people forget that he started his UFC career as a grappler, and as a whole, Davey Grant is an experienced grappler. He's gotten comfortable with his hands. He's developed some real power over time. With 10 fights under the UFC banner, he has built himself some solid fight IQ. And even when he gets dropped, which is a little more often than you would like, he stays composed and he's able to work through it. He's coming off the knockout win over Luis Smoka that snapped a 2-fight skid. And this is a tricky fight to break down because if you only look at the Tapology matchup page, you're going to see a 40-year-old with 1 win in his last 4 fights, and then you're going to see Davey Grant. But the reality is that Raphael Assuncao has only ever lost to good people. His last 4 losses are to Ricky Simone, Cody Garbrandt, Corey Sandhagen, and Marlon Moraes before Marlon Moraes' chin was gone. He's definitely past his prime, but we just saw in his last fight that he could still work some of these younger guys. Ultimately, I'm still going the Davey Grant side because I do think he's going to be the better striker and his takedown defense should hold up, but I don't think I'm going to touch that -160 money line, and I know what's going to happen. He's at -160 now. He's a good pick. He's probably a safe pick, and that line is going to, he's going to close, I tried the whistle. He's going to close at -300 something. And make sure, if you're a premium member, keep an eye on that line movement tracker. That gets updated constantly, and you're going to see his line moving. If you like Davey Grant here, and he's at -160, and then you check a couple hours later, the next day he's at -165, you know it's going to keep moving in that direction. It is Sunday as I'm recording this. Lines move a little bit on Sundays. They move a bunch on Tuesdays, and then they take off on Fridays. So keep an eye on it. Look at this line, and I'm convincing myself to now go bet on Davey Grant because I do think he's going to win this fight, and -160, it's not going to be there for much longer. If you're not a premium member, become one now at WeWantPicks.com. It's only $10. The line movement tracker is one of the many tools that you're going to get, including our bets. And if you're already a premium member, link the Discord, because if I do convince myself to do this and I place a bet on Davey Grant, you're going to want to get that alert on your phone, and you're only going to do that if you link your Discord. And every time I do that pitch, I look at the fake phone in my hand, and then I show it to you as if there's like an actual Discord alert on there. Anyway, Davey Grant's the pick. Then we got Carlston Harris taking on one of 2 Nurmagomedovs on this card, Abubakar Nurmagomedov. Carlston Harris is coming back after a year away. He's a well-rounded guy. He's got some pretty wild striking, but he does have power in there. He's a very slick, opportunistic grappler as well, meaning he's just going to snatch something up like a Darce, or even he had a standing head and arm choke when he sees those openings. His wrestling is solid as well. He doesn't have traditional takedowns, but he's got nice body locks and trips. And as soon as you hit the mat, he's working towards something. He's got a 75% takedown defense, and he's probably going to need every bit of that in this matchup because he's fighting Abubakar Nurmagomedov, who is an aggressive wrestler with one goal in mind. Come forward, throw hands, and get the takedown. When he gets on top, he has solid pressure and control, but he does have some questionable submission defense. His hands are solid, and while he won't be knocking anybody out anytime soon, he can hang on his feet for long enough that people are going to forget that this dude's about to shoot on him. He's coming off that win over Godzi, where he went 1 for 4 on takedowns, but racked up 8 minutes of control time. He's boring. He's stupid boring, but he is effective. I like Nurmagomedov here. I'm surprised that he's the underdog. Like, I get it. He's one of the most boring fighters you're ever going to watch. And his takedown percentage is lower than you expect it to be with that last name. But he should be a wet blanket here. Just boring as shit. And he's just going to lay on top of the older, slower Carlston Harris. So Nurmagomedov's going to be the pick. This is not going to be a fun fight. Like, this fight's going to suck. But did I say Carlston Harris is the pick? No. Abubakar Nurmagomedov is the pick. Now I don't know what I said. Abubakar's the pick. Let's be very, very clear here. Abubakar's the pick. The fight's going to suck. And I might throw a money line bet on him at plus money while that's still there. Then we got Victor Henry. We just broke him down. He's coming off that loss to Raphael, and he is taking on Tony Gravely. Tony Gravely is a wrestler. He loves to come forward. He's got volume and power, and then he transitions to his wrestling so he can work some old school Mark Coleman style ground and pound. He's very strong, and he uses it well for takedowns and damage. Tony's big issue, though, is that even though he's incredibly tough, if he can't get takedowns, he almost has nothing else to offer. He's coming off that loss to Javid Basharat, where even though he did have some success in the wrestling department, which is impressive against Javid, he was outstruck almost 3-1. Victor Henry's a fun come-forward striker. He's got a wide variety of attacks. He likes to plot forward, use his head movement to avoid those big punches, and then throw literally everything. At range, he's throwing head kicks, but if he's inside the pocket, he's going to throw elbows and knees. He has a ton of variety, and he mixes it all together really nicely. He's coming off that loss, as I mentioned, to Raphael Assuncao, where he looked flat, and he gave up 2 takedowns. And I don't really know what to do here, because Victor Henry's 2 fights in the UFC were very, very different, and they tell very different stories. In his UFC debut against Hani Barcelos, a national champion wrestler, he defended 6 takedowns. In his last fight, he was taken down twice by a 40-year-old BJJ guy. And if the Victor Henry from his last fight shows up here, he's going to be taken down, and he is going to lose this fight. But if his decent defense holds up, like it did against Hani Barcelos, he should win, and he should win dominantly. I'm going to lead Gravely here, right? Because we know what he will do. We know what he will look like. He's going to have power in his hands, and he's going to just start blasting takedowns. So Gravely's going to be the pick here. I think it's too risky to bet because we just don't know what's going to happen. But this is probably a perfect live bet situation. Come out there just immediately. If Tony Gravely gets a takedown, I would have the live bet primed and ready to go on your laptop, not on your phone. Your phone is not fast enough to get a lot of those live bets in. On your laptop, have it ready to go. Have your numbers all typed in. And as soon as it, like Tony Gravely's in on a leg and it looks like he's going to get it, click, bang, submit it. Because if he gets 1 takedown, he'll get 5 takedowns. If he gets stuffed a bunch of times, he's screwed. Tony Gravely's the pick. We'll see what these takedown prop bets are when those drop. BetOnline has takedown prop bets. We just hit him with Bo Nickel. It was a 2 takedown line. They said -115 for under, -115 for over. Hit the under. I knew he only needed 1, and that paid. We might get lucky. They might give Tony Gravely some stupid line, either stupid low or stupid high, and then we can play there. If you don't have BetOnline account, make one. Go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Use my link. I'll send you $50. Then we have Tyson Nam taking on Bruno Silva. Tyson Nam's a low-volume striker with some very real power and solid takedown defense. His striking is technical, and he has phenomenal counters. While Nam has a ton of power at this weight class, he doesn't necessarily have the same speed as the rest of the division. He's 3-3 in the UFC with 3 knockouts, and he's coming off that incredible KO win over O'Day Osborne in the first round. Bruno Silva is coming back after almost 2 years away. Style-wise, he's very well-rounded. He has very solid power, strong wrestling, and nasty submissions. He's literally good everywhere. He started his UFC career with a bit of a skid, but managed to string together 2 knockout wins before that layoff. This is another incredibly close fight where I know a lot of people are going to be looking at the underdog. A lot of people are going to be looking at Nam. They're going to love him in the underdog spot. And Nam has fantastic one-punch knockout power, and he looked great against Ode Osborne. Bruno Silva is a very well-rounded guy, but he's coming off a 2-year layoff. He could come in here busy, he could outwork Nam, or he could be rusty and lethargic and then get knocked out. I'm going to lean Bruno because he has more ways to win this fight, and I can't be picking people just praying for a one-punch knockout. So Bruno's going to be the pick, but Tyson Nam is stupid tough. So the best bet here, and it hasn't dropped yet, they don't drop till Tuesdays, the best bet here is probably Tyson Nam inside the distance, decision, no action. Because he's either going to flatline Bruno Silva or most likely lose a decision. Bruno Silva's not the greatest finisher. Tyson Nam's stupid tough. That's probably going to be the best bet here. Tyson Nam's plus money underdog, so we may get some solid odds on that win inside the distance, decision, no action. So if he stops Bruno, we get paid. If he loses the decision, we get a refund. I'll keep an eye on that. If you're a premium member, link your Discord. So if I place it, Jacob places, you will get the alert to your phone that that bet was just placed. And all you need to do is when you log in, click on account. You'll see your whole account profile. Just click link Discord. The Discord's free for everybody who wants to. But if you're a premium member, you have access to a channel for just premium alerts that'll push to your phone. Then we have the biggest favorite on the entire card. We have Mario Bautista taking on Guido Cannetti. Mario Bautista is a high volume, get one to give one style striker. He sets a nice pace and he's always plodding forward while being light on his feet. He is constantly moving and then he plants his feet and he lets his hands go. He has been steadily evolving in his last few fights with 3 wins in a row and 7 takedowns. He's coming off that submission win over Benito Lopez where he hit hard, had clean takedowns, and just dominated on the ground. Guido Cannetti has found a second life as of late. He's over 43 years old. He's riding a 2-fight win streak. He's competed in martial arts his entire life, everything from Kung Fu, Taekwondo to obviously MMA. Style-wise, he's a striker who moves well and has nice kicks. He does not have a ton of power, but he makes up for that with volume and movement. He works in takedowns well and can still win some fights in this division. He's coming off that win over Randy Costa where he literally fell into a submission. But this is an easy Mario Bautista pick. Guido has managed to put together 2 wins in a row. He's still 43 and a striker. Strikers do not age as well as wrestlers do. His wins are over Chris Motino and Randy Costa. And Randy's very solid, but the reality is Guido lucked out with that submission. I've got Mario winning here. I think every single person has Mario winning here. He likely wins inside the distance. The odds are wide, but frankly, they should look like Bo Nickel odds. Mario Bautista should be a minus 200, 2,000 favorite in this fight. He's fighting a 43-year-old who has put together a few wins recently, but Mario's going to beat him to the punch. He's going to be faster, going to have the better wrestling, going to have the better grappling. Mario Bautista inside the distance is probably the most value you'll get on him at these odds. Then we got Ariane Lipski taking on JJ Aldrich. JJ Aldrich is a grinder. She's a decent striker, good takedowns, great top pressure. She fights well within her skill set, though, and doesn't take any risks at all. She is primarily a striker, but she does have a negative striking differential, and she relies on volume to sort of squeak out these wins. She's dangerous nowhere, but good everywhere. She's coming off that submission loss to Erin Blanchfield, but she was able to get 2 of her own takedowns and defend 4 of Erin's. And we just watched Erin blow through Jessica Andrade. So that loss for JJ should actually speak to how good she is. Ariane Lipski's a decent striker with solid grappling. The problem with her grappling is that she needs to dictate, meaning if she's on top, she's solid. But if she's off her back, she just struggles and she can get finished. She's coming off that first round knockout loss to Priscilla Cachoeira where it was her first UFC loss where she wasn't taken down. So there's an upside. Her other UFC losses, she was taken down and grinded on and held down and worked out that way. Here, Priscilla Cachoeira just knocked her out. And I think this is an easy JJ spot. And while she's not really dangerous at all, she is solid and dependable. She will go out there, work forward, and look for the win. No risks, no fight IQ mistakes, just forward pressure and grinding. It goes against all the rules, but I've got a 1.5 unit bet. That's a lot of money on JJ Aldrich, but I got a 1.5 unit bet at minus 220. I'm just very confident in her ability to go out there, stick to a game plan, grind forward, and just get a win. She's 30 years old. She's got plenty of experience. She's very good. Not great, but very good, very solid. So I'm risking $150 on JJ Aldrich to win a little bit of that back. You don't want to bet on women's MMA? I get it. It's a hard and fast rule, and I'm breaking that rule here. Then we got Carl Williams taking on Lukasz Brzeski. Lukasz Brzeski is a well-rounded heavyweight. He's got solid power, solid speed, decent takedowns, nice leg kicks. He's very athletic and has no problem working in spinning attacks. The problem with Lukasz, though, is if you dig into his fights and watch some tape, he does not like getting hit. And obviously nobody wants to get hit, but if you stay in his face and you keep up the volume, he'll turn his head, he'll look away, and, doesn't really focus on, let me counter, let me get out of here. It's more like, oh, God, please stop hitting me. He is coming off that bad decision loss to Martin Buday, where he more than doubled his strikes. You're going to look at that fight, you're going to see it as a loss. He won that fight. He beat Martin Buday. That was just a bad decision. He's taking on Carl Williams. Carl's a powerful striker who is always looking to send that right hand. He sends everything with power. It can be telegraphed, but they're not looping, right? So it's kind of odd because usually telegraph strikes are big. You're going to pull it back, and then these are telegraphed, but he doesn't loop them. They're just like very obvious that they're coming, but they're not. They don't take longer than they need to get there, if that makes any sense. They're solid straight punches. When he sees you hurt, he opens up and hunts for the finish. What I really like is if he does not get the finish, he's going to back up, reset, and set it all up again. He doesn't just come rushing in, swinging wild. He'll see his opportunity. He'll go for it. Okay, it's not there. This guy recovered. He'll step back. He'll reset, and he'll just keep going. Really high fight IQ for a 7-1 guy. He doesn't have the best takedowns or the best takedown defense, though, but he's so strong that he can work through those situations. This is a really tough fight to call because I think Lukasz is probably the better overall fighter, just as a whole. But the way he reacts to punches can be an issue with somebody like Karl who throws heat. With that being said, we watched Lukasz dominate Martin Buday with striking. We watched him work Dylan Potter with grappling. And I think he has more ways to win this fight. So Carl Williams has smoked a bunch of regional guys, including a dude who looks like you have to cut him out of his house. He's so big. But I'm going to be leaning Lukasz here. I'm going to avoid some bets. After all, this is heavyweight. I already broke one rule with the JJ Aldrich bet, so I'm not going to bet here. I do think Lukasz can get this done. I think he can mix it up, work in the takedowns if he needs to, try to stay on the outside with the striking. But Carl Williams is dumb dangerous. Don't spend money on this fight. A UFC debut. There's a lot going on here. Just keep your money. Enjoy this fight. Then we have the rebooked Nikita Krylov versus Ryan Spann. This was the main event 2 weeks ago. But after the card started, we were well on our way. Nikita Krylov was sick. The fight was canceled, and it has been rebooked 2 weeks later. I don't know what the illness was fully. I think it was a stomach thing. Who knows how bad it was, how recovered he is. All I can do is break down this fight and assume that he's good and 100% and can fight. Nikita Krylov's a well-rounded guy. He's got good wrestling. He's got good striking. He has nice forward pressure, and he mixes all of that together really, really well. He's got solid takedowns. He averages more than 2 per fight, and he's coming off that win with dominant grappling over Volkan Ozdemir, where he had 7 takedowns. Ryan Spann is a beast. He's 6'5". He's jacked, super long reach. He's dangerous, with 6 of his 8 UFC wins being by stoppage, and it's not even all power. He's got a bunch of submissions. He averages more than 1 takedown per fight, and he's coming off that knockout win over Dominic Reyes back in November. It's an interesting fight. It was interesting 2 weeks ago. It's even more interesting now, frankly, because Spann's definitely going to be the more dangerous fighter here. Krylov's going to be the more well-rounded guy who can mix in the wrestling and grind out a win. Ryan Spann has been taken down 9 times in the UFC. He's got a 50% takedown defense. I think this fight's going to be super close. I originally picked Nikita Krylov to win because I thought he can get the takedowns. I thought he can grind forward and just survive early. Now the illness has scared the shit out of me. So I don't know. I still think Nikita's going to win, right? Because I have to assume he's 100%. I can't assume that he's fighting at 50%. I have to assume he's 100%. That was a one-night deal. With that being said, I don't know what that looked like. I don't know what the next week looked like for him. It's now 2 weeks later. Was he able to keep training? Was he able to, keep his cardio? And did he peak too early? And now it's a mess. There's so many unknowns here. I'm no longer going to bet on Nikita Krylov. I've lost that much confidence in him. I think he probably still wins this because he's still going to be the better wrestler. He's still going to be able to do that grinding, I assume. So I'm still going to pick Nikita Krylov. But the bet is definitely going to be Ryan Spann inside the distance decision, no action. Because he should be able to survive if he's taken down. I know after one round for him is not a commonplace, but Nikita Krylov's not necessarily a finisher. Ryan Spann's super tough, big hands, and this is now a 3-round fight instead of a 5. When it was a 5-round fight, do you think Ryan Spann can go 5 rounds? That affects your bets. In a 3-round fight, which is very, very different, I think Ryan Spann can survive. And more importantly, I think he can finish Nikita Krylov. So I'm probably going to place inside the distance decision no action on Ryan Spann. So if he knocks out Nikita, we get paid. If he gets grinded out, it's okay. We get a refund. Odds have not dropped for this fight at all. We don't even have money line odds for this. I think the bookies are trying to figure out what the hell do we do with this illness. They're going to look at what the lines closed at before, and they're going to open them, and they're going to factor in the illness. So I don't know what the odds are going to be when they open. I'm filming this Sunday morning. They don't exist just yet. When they do exist, you will see them on the line movement tracker on the website. And what's interesting about that is you'll see the opening odds, and then, a couple hours later, the next day, you'll see where the odds moved. There may be no movement, or there may be incredible movement, and then you can follow that along. If you're not a premium member, become one now at WeWantPicks.com. It's only $10. It's $10. You're going to get all the picks, all the bets, the fantasy plays, DraftKings Optimizer, all that crap, plus the tools, the chart, the line movement tracker, all of that stuff is available for only $10 a month. Just go to WeWantPicks.com and click Become a Member. Then we have a really fun fight. We got Ricardo Ramos taking on Austin Lingo. Ricardo Ramos is a very dangerous fighter who's good everywhere. He's a tall, rangy striker with slick BJJ. He has high kicks, spinning kicks, a great jab, solid leg kicks. If he hits the ground, he's always hunting for a submission and is very fast in those transitions. He averages more than 2 takedowns per fight, and he's coming off the very early knockout over Danny Chavez. Austin Lingo is a pretty well-rounded guy who is on a nice 2-fight win streak, most recently of which a hard-fought win over Luis Saldana last summer. He's a striker who's light on his feet with power and speed. He mixes in elbows and has very nice variety. He also uses his jab well, and even though he hasn't gotten a knockout yet in the UFC, he has a knockdown in each one of those wins. This should be a fun fight, right? 2 dangerous guys. I'm definitely giving the edge to Ricardo Ramos here. I think he has more versatility on the feet, and I think the takedowns can sort of change the course of the fight if it isn't going his way. Ramos should be able to control where everything goes, and he should be able to get the job done. Austin is tough, though, so I'm not sure if this is going to be a quick finish either way, but this should be a really fun fight. I like Ricardo Ramos. Should have a little bit of an edge everywhere, but a larger edge in the wrestling, and that can, hey, I'm losing the striking, let me get some takedowns. So, liking Ricardo Ramos in this spot. Then we got Vitor Petrino taking on Anton Turkalj. Vitor Petrino is an absolute killer striker, and he gives off Alex Pereira vibes with just how he throws out counter left hooks and low kicks to get you off balance. He's a striker, and every single one of his opponent's game plans are to get him to the ground. His takedown defense is just okay, but he does have a nice way of working back up to his feet and avoiding danger. He was in a full triangle on the Contender Series and did his best Rampage Jackson impression to just slam his way out of that. He's going to be a problem for a lot of people, but we won't know exactly how good he is until he fights just a straight-up grappler. Anton Turkalj is a fun, athletic striker who will mix it up on his feet and have no problem taking risks. He has an incredibly diverse striking style where he will spin, he will kick, he will charge forward, and really just mix it all up together. At times, it can look sloppy, but it does feel like it's calculated. I categorize him as a striker, but he absolutely can grapple as well. His offensive BJJ is solid, and we know he can wrestle. He had 11 takedowns in his Contender Series fight this past July. His pressure is absolutely incredible, and that's what separates him from most people. He fights at 100% pace, and it doesn't matter if he's striking or grappling. He's young in his career, but he has been training at a high level for a long time. This is a razor-thin fight, but the only thing preventing me from going all in on Vitor is the fact that Anton has takedowns. So I think Vitor is absolutely going to win this fight, and then it's like, oh shit, Anton has takedowns, and then bang, now it's an even fight. If you look at Anton's 11 takedowns in the Contender Series, you're like, oh crap, he could absolutely get this done. He can get those takedowns. He can come in here. He could take the striking away from Vitor. And if we didn't have those 11 takedowns, I'd be hammering Vitor's money line. The issue is we just don't know how Vitor's going to handle wrestling. We just don't know. We've seen him taken down on the regional scene. but we've also seen him get back up and put people away. So we just don't know what it's going to look like if Anton comes out wrestle heavy. I'm more conservative than most. I'm going to be picking Vitor. I'm not going to be betting. I'll be avoiding, any sort of money lines or stuff like that. The under 2.5 is probably going to be the best bet here, but we may get stuck with a 1.5 line. So we'll see what happens when the line drops. There's probably a finish in this fight on either side. I like Vitor to get it done, but we're going to learn a lot about his wrestling and his ability to defend takedowns coming into this fight. Anton's a solid striker, but that dude can grapple as well. Make sure you have linked your Discord if you're a premium member to see when the props drop on Tuesday if we attack any of them in this fight. Then we have Said Nurmagomedov, and he is taking on Jonathan Martinez. This is the second Nurmagomedov on this card. This one is nothing like the other one. The other one's the grappler. This one is a striker. And he's a flashy striker who uses his length really well. His range keeps him dangerous both in and out of the pocket. He can literally throw kicks to your head while standing only a few feet in front of you. His striking is versatile and his takedown defense is solid at 63%. He is 6-1 in the UFC with 4 stoppages and only 2 takedowns. Only 2 takedowns. Don't look at the last name and just jump to some conclusions. He's coming off that submission win over Kakramanov where he was losing that fight, but he sucked up a guillotine and he got it done. Again, don't just look at Tapology, see the last name, won by submission. He is not a grappler. This dude is a striker that had a nasty guillotine. And he's fighting Jonathan Martinez, who is a really well-rounded guy. He has nice technical striking and slick BJJ. He has a Muay Thai striking style with really nice kicks that he uses to control range. On the ground, he is slick and can absolutely snatch something up. He doesn't go to his wrestling often, but when he does, it opens up his hands and he wins those fights by knockout. He has power, he has submissions, and when he works in takedowns, it gets people guessing. He's coming off that solid win over Cub Swanson where he looked great. He was fast, had pressure, great kicks. Of the 14 fights on this card, I think 12 of them are super close. This is one of them. Said will be the better pure striker, but Martinez has wrestling. And if he needs that, we know that Said can be taken down. It was frustrating watching Said's last win because I picked against him and Kakramanov was winning a perfect fight until he made one small mistake and then guillotined. And this could be the same thing here. Jonathan Martinez could fight a great fight, but if he even makes the slightest mistake, he will be taken out of there. So Nurmagomedov is going to be the pick because I think he's the better overall striker, and he has proven to us time and time again that he can just find ways to win. But I do believe this fight is a lot closer than the odds. Said Nurmagomedov is almost a minus 200 favorite. He's almost a 2-1 favorite. I think it's a lot closer than that. Jonathan Martinez is a very, very game fighter. And Said Nurmagomedov, while he's pulling some of these wins out of his hat, there is a clear path to beating him. You just have to protect your neck. And we have the co-main event of the evening. Couple of heavyweights. We got Alexander Volkov taking on Alexander, without an E, Romanov. Alexander Volkov, he's been a top 10 heavyweight for the better part of 6 years. He's a very good striker, high IQ fighter who is fast and has volume. He picks his shots well and he will adapt in a fight. He's not a huge power guy, but his volume and timing suit him well enough to get finishes. He's a very durable guy as well who has fought the literal best in the division since his UFC debut in 2016. He's coming off that KO win over Jairzinho Rozenstruik back in June. Alexander Romanov is a fantastic high-caliber wrestler. He's a massive human being with incredible speed and power that he uses to take you down and pound on you. He comes charging forward with that power, and he's just so athletic and fast for his size that it is just hard to stop that moving train. He's coming off that close loss to Marcin Tybura, where it was obvious that the cardio was an issue for him in longer fights, but let's not forget that was at elevation. I love Romanov in this spot. To be fair, I loved him in his last fight as well, and that didn't go my way. But I do think this is different. His fight against Marcin, as I mentioned, was at elevation. And even though he gassed, he kept attempting takedowns, and he racked up 5 minutes of control time. So he was exhausted, he was getting sloppy, but he just kept pushing, kept working his way forward. Volkov is a very good heavyweight who has only lost to champs or contenders, but I do think a wrestle-heavy game plan against him can be successful. Tom Aspinall took him down twice before the submission, and while Romanov won't have the BJJ chops of Tom Aspinall, his takedowns are far better. So the pick is Romanov, and I'm hoping we see some improved cardio out of him. The betting line is about even here, so I may take the shot, shoot my shot, and put some money on Romanov there because I think he's going to get it done. The only thing that worries me is Volkov is a top heavyweight, and he's only 34. He's not 54, but Romanov should get this done. We should see a lot of wrestling out of him. Then we got the main event of the evening. Very interesting main event. We got Petr Yan taking on Merab Dvalishvili. Petr Yan is a phenomenal striker with fantastic takedown defense and surprisingly solid takedown offense. He's a nightmare for a lot of people because of how dangerous his striking is and how underrated his wrestling can be. He plots forward with a Muay Thai style guard and then just blasts away with power and accuracy. He averages almost 2 takedowns per fight with a solid 90% takedown defense. And he is coming off the absolute war with Sean O'Malley where he landed clean, but was also hit clean. He got 6 takedowns, but definitely battled through some very real adversity, especially in the third round of that fight. Merab Dvalishvili has great conditioning and is a non-stop chain wrestler with solid striking and power. He times his takedowns incredibly well, and even if he doesn't, it doesn't matter because there's just another takedown, another shot right behind it. He averages an insane 6.5 takedowns per 15 minutes, and his last loss was all the way back in 2018 to Ricky Simón, who he still took down 6 times. He's coming off the win over Jose Aldo, which was stupid boring, but effective. He went 0 for 16 on takedown attempts, but did such a good job with his nonstop shots and takedown attempts that Jose had no time to put together any sort of offense. He was just defending takedowns against the cage the whole time, and Merab won because of that pressure, because it looked like he was the one trying to win the fight. Man, these are always tricky to break down because Petr is absolutely, without a doubt, the better fighter, right? He's just the better fighter in this fight. Nobody can argue that point. But Merab is just so dead set on doing one thing, and one thing only, that he has a ton of success. We have seen both of these men in some very real trouble and able to survive. Merab was dropped by Marlon Moraes, but was able to recover and get 4 takedowns before the eventual finish. Petr was officially dropped by Sean O'Malley, but he went through hell and back in that fight. And my gut is saying go with Merab. And that this fight's going to look like the Jose Aldo fight. Just non-stop takedown attempts that even if they are defended, will score well in the judges' eyes. But my brain is telling me I need to go with Petr. You could argue that he beat Sean O'Malley and Aljamain in his last 2 fights. But my only concern here is that he's never fought a pure wrestler. So we don't know what it's going to look like if he's defending 1,000 takedowns. I am going to go with the brain here. Petr's going to be the pick. I'm hoping it's going to be a fun main event, unlike Aldo. I see Petr doing more than just defending and making Merab pay on his entries. I don't think Petr's going to get held up against the cage just underhooking for 25 minutes. I think he'll spin off. I think he's going to light up Merab's legs. He may shoot his own takedowns because, that's what he does, and it catches people off guards. You wrestle a wrestler, catches him off guard. I think Petr's going to get this done. He's not in the safety parlay, not after that last fight with Sean O'Malley. And Petr's interesting because he's either on a downward spiral, like Figueiredo, where that was it. He was the best in the world for a little while, and now he's on a downward spiral. Or you look at his 3 recent losses. A lot of people think he beat Sean O'Malley. A lot of people think he beat Aljamain the second time, and the first time was bullshit. He beat the crap out of Aljamain before that knee. So all of a sudden, Petr Yan is 19-1 instead of 16-4. I got to go with Petr Yan here. Got to go with the former champ. But this is going to be a close fight. Guys, I gave you 13 units of net profit last night at UFC 285. And that's with Valentina Shevchenko losing. With Shevchenko losing, we gave you 13 units of net profit. And I did all of that for only $10 a month. So become a premium member now at WeWantPicks.com. You're going to get the metrics. You're going to get the bets. You're going to get 38 columns of detailed information that you can then slice and dice and use to make your own decisions, on top of looking at the decisions Jacob and I have made and following those bets as well. We have a DraftKings optimizer. We have so much for you. It is only $10 a month. What are you doing? A month. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member. It's $10. You're going to unlock everything. It is by far the best value in this space. There are other people begging you for $20 that offer 1/10 of what we offer. There are people that are saying, hey, give me 10 for this, and then another 10 for this. There's people talking about 15 and then 30. It's not even close what we are giving you compared to everybody else. WeWantPicks.com, it's only $10 a month. And if you want 50, I'll give you 50. You give me the 10 for the premium membership, I'll give you 50. And actually, you don't need to be a premium member to cash in on this 50. Just go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Use my affiliate link to sign up with one of our sportsbook partners. Make a deposit. I'll send you $50. They're going to pay me because you use the link. They're going to pay me. I'm going to slice off a piece of that pie and give it right back to you because I care about you. We're growing this community, and if I can make money, you can make money. WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up, make a deposit. I will send you $50.